What is up, everybody, and welcome to the Man versus Gaming podcast. This is episode 3. I am Hugh, but on Twitch I'm known as Man versus Rage. If you are an audio listener, you can come hang out with us. We do this every Tuesday at 7 a.m. Central Standard Time at twitch.tv/manversusrage. That's ManVersusRage. So, today, what we're kind of going to be talking about, guys, as we get into it, we're going to be going over the Sekiro patch that's coming out. I'm going to talk a little bit about Risk of Rain 2 and how I think it's a pretty awesome game at a pretty low price. We're going to head on over to the looter shooter corner. We're going to talk about Destiny 2, Anthem, and the Division 2. That's the stuff they got going on. We'll talk about the Apex Legends patch that came out this week. And then we will move on to, is it rumors? I'm not sure. Just the specs that came out about the PS5. We'll talk about that. If I think they're good. And what I just think about the PS5 in general. But before we do that, I'm going to go into the game releases that are happening this week. So let's see stuff that comes out today, actually. We have Assassin's Creed Odyssey, The Fate of Atlantis. Episode 1 comes out today for the PC, PS4, Xbox One. We have Bendy and the Ink Machine for Switch. Comes out today. Mortal Kombat 11 comes out today. Then on the 26th, we have Days Gone coming out. And on the 30th... we have Final Fantasy 12, The Zodiac Age coming out for the Xbox One and Switch. Now, Days Gone is only going to be for the PS4 because I did not state that. Days Gone looks pretty cool. Well, I get it. I'm not too sure yet. But, I mean, it looks like a pretty awesome game. Like, if you love things like that, like it's an open world, I believe it's open world at least. I haven't looked into it that much. I watched the E3 trailer, but I have not looked into that game that much. So I think it's an open world, just post-apocalyptic zombie game. It looks fun. I'm not too sure about the story, but I might get it, maybe. I haven't seen anything about the new Assassin's Creed, I guess, DLC. Mortal Kombat 11 looks like Mortal Kombat to me. I'm not a big fighting game fan, but if you're into that kind of thing, it looks like it'd be fun to you, dude. So go pick it up. So moving on to what we're going to talk about today. First of all, we're going to talk about the Sekiro patch. And we're going to kind of go into this and break this down. So, first of all, they adjusted the efficiency and spirit emblem cost of a lot of stuff. The prosthetic tools, let's see, the Lazulite Sacred Flame Loaded Axe, Sparking Axe, and Lazulite Axe. They adjusted the efficiency of spirit emblem cost of those, as well as the Ashina Cross, Dragon Flash, One Mind, Floating Passage, Spiral Cloud Passage, Mortal Draw, and the Empower Mortal Draw for the combat arts, and the items, the Spirit Fall. They adjusted the efficiency and spirit emblem cost of all of those. Let's see. They reduced the posture damage dealt by the first hit of the combat art, Simpo, Leaping Kicks, and High Monk, as it was causing more damage than intended in certain cases. They increased the poison buildup dealt by the prosthetic tool Sabimaru against enemies that were intended to be weak against it. They increased the drop rate of Divine Confetti for fencers in Ashina Castle. They adjusted loading screen tips and tutorial text, as well as adding new text. It's pretty good. They slightly Other fixes, they slightly reduce posture and vitality of Blazing Bull in order to improve game pacing. Yeah, thank you. That thing was a pain in my ass. They lowered the price of information sold by Anayama the peddler. Chain Ogre inside Ashina Castle is now red-eyed. Oh, he was not red-eyed before? Okay, so I'm actually at that point in the game, and I was wondering why fire was not doing anything to him, and that's why, because he's not red-eyed. That explains everything. Fix a bug where Goken Sugar and Goken Spirit Fall were not mitigating player posture damage taken while guarding or deflecting enemy attacks. It fixed the bug where system crashes could cause save data to become corrupted on PC. Also where certain enemies would sometimes stop attacking the player. Where certain actions could not be performed after reconfiguring the controls. Certain bugs that were allowing the player to access unexpected areas, which could result in becoming unable to obtain items or make further progress. Fix cases of certain text being displayed incorrectly, improve stability, improve performance, and they have other various bug fixes. Now this is patch 1.03 and it comes out today actually, so we might want to, you know what, hold on 1 second, I'll just cut this out later, but I really have got to go download this patch if there is a patch, because I don't want to be left out today. So yeah, so what I think about this is it's really good because you don't usually see, as far as single player games, this much improvement that fast. In my opinion, and I think it's really good that they're actually, you know, they're putting the effort to fix things into, you know, a single player game, because a lot of time it takes quite a bit of time to do this. But From Software has always been pretty good about doing that, in my opinion. And I really appreciate the effort of, you know, if they think something's wrong, they'll fix it. And it's a good way for it to be. All right. So moving on. Risk of Rain 2. So I bought this game like last week sometime, I believe. We've played it a few times, but I think it's a really fun game. So just to kind of go into a little bit what the game is about. So essentially what it is you have I think 5 or 6 like different characters, and they each have their own abilities. Like you start off, you only have one. I can't particularly remember the name of him, but he's like kind of a gunner. So you have just your, which I play on PC, which is only out on PC, but you can play on the controller as well, even if you do buy it on the computer. But the right mouse button just does a regular shot, and then you have like 2 skills. You have is it 2? What does the other skill of this guy do? I don't remember. Okay, so I don't remember what the right click skill does for some reason on the gunner. But I know he has 2 skills, and the R skill does like a quick blast from your gun, like a burst, I guess you would say, from your gun, like a 3 or 4 round burst. It does some pretty good damage. It is bugging me that I can't think of the other skill, but I know I unlocked the Huntress, which is probably my favorite character so far, which is crazy because I love samurais, and they actually have like the mercenary has a blade, like a kind of like a lightsaber katana, I guess you would say. It's really cool, like a But the Huntress is probably my favorite. Her um, left mouse button skill just shoots a regular arrow at enemies. Her right skill throws like this. I would say it's kind of like a shuriken. It bounces between enemies and it can do some pretty big damage if you have a lot of enemies grouped up. And then her R button skill, she jumps up in the air and you kind of select they have like a bubble and you select an area and then arrows rain down in that area, and it does pretty good damage in AoE wise to, you know, a big group of enemies. The mercenary, his left button ability is just regular slash. You got to keep pushing it. Then his right button ability is kind of a combo, and his R is he just does like these multiple slashes where it just disappears and you just see slash marks pretty much like anime style, and it's awesome. But the Huntress has probably been my favorite to play as so far. I can't wait to unlock more of them. But you only start off with kind of the gunner class. I can't remember his exact name. I can't remember one of his abilities for some reason. But essentially what the game is, you start off on a level. You run around the level killing enemies, which gives you gold. Now there are chests and like drones scattered around these levels that you have to get enough money to open that give you like stuff like you have a chance to make enemies bleed on hit, you move faster, you heal faster when out of combat, stuff like that. And pretty much what it does is it lets you become stronger and stronger, and that way you don't essentially get new skills, but you also level up, and when you level up you just get more health, I believe. But you stick with the same skills. You also have a movement skill for each one, like the gunner has like a roll, the Huntress has a like kind of like a teleport forward. The mercenaries is kind of a teleport forward too, but you can actually do it 3 times. If you hit an enemy, it actually hurts them, and it's pretty cool. But you essentially just try to open up these chests to get better like perks, and then you could find the drones, which they have like gunner drones and healing drones, and when you get later on they have missile drones, and these help you pretty much fight the enemies. But at the end, whenever you think you're leveled up enough or you have enough skills, essentially what you do is you activate a teleporter, and what this does is it brings in the big boy, the big boss of the area, and you have to fight him. Now they have like quite a few bosses. I've actually found a hidden boss in the game, which was pretty cool, and it's pretty fun because you have this boss and you have all these ads, and you have to also stay within this certain area to like charge the teleporter, which what I do is I usually just say fuck that teleporter at first. I'm going to try to take out this boss in these ads, and I will lure the boss out and just kind of dish damage to him, and if my health's getting low, I'm out, let it heal up, come back, do some more damage. It's kind of what you got to do sometimes, because it gets really hectic, because the game gets progressively harder the longer you play it, because you start off at easy and then it goes to medium and hard, and it just eventually, if you play long enough, it literally just says ha 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 like continuously across the board. And it's a pretty good game though, and if you like, you know, you don't keep anything when you start over, you start over from scratch. But if you like games like that, then I would definitely suggest going to at least check the game out. It comes in at a $20 price tag. It's still in early access. They have more characters and stuff they're going to be making for it, but I would definitely check it out. It is a really fun game. It's on Steam. As far as I know, that's the only thing it's on, so go on there, read some reviews, watch some videos, check it out. It's called Risk of Rain 2. I highly recommend the game if you like those kind of games. Really fun. Alright, so moving on to our looter shooter roundup. Well, we're going to talk about Destiny 2, Anthem, and The Division 2. First of all, we'll start off with Destiny 2. There isn't much going on with that. We'll talk about the Revelry, which started on April 16th and it'll run till May 7th. Essentially what it is you start off with 4 minutes in game time for every kill, every enemy kill. When you run out of time, you'll face 5 bosses in a row. For every boss you manage to kill, you'll get a chest. You determine how much time you have to complete the boss rush for every area you move to in the Verdant Forest, which is essentially like the Haunted Forest, but they just tweaked it a little bit and made it look like a lot more happy, I guess you would say. It also says as you clear waves of enemies in the Verdant Forest, they get harder. Resurrecting takes you back to the start of the area, and it can take some time to return to where you were before you died. There are also special branches that spawn a chest instead of moving you to a new branch. These chests give you extra time for every player that grabs the treasure and Reveler's Essence, which you can use to buy items from Eva. Eva Levante is a character in the tower, for those who didn't know. But I think it's a fun event. It seems like they're trying to really... It seems like they're trying to really elevate the Haunted Forest to a new level and make it a little more fun. I know you get like armor in this one as well, like you did in the Haunted Forest, that gives you special perks and stuff that makes your like grenade cooldown faster and your, you know, melee skill cooldown faster and special and stuff like that. Now, the big thing that people are going to be working towards, not only do they have new armor in this, but they also have the Arbalist, which is the new exotic kinetic linear fusion rifle. And I believe it's the first kinetic linear fusion rifle, which is going to make it pretty good, hopefully. I haven't seen much about it, but it sounds like it's gonna be awesome. It'll be Eva's final reward, and it'll cost you 300 Reveler's Essence and will require you to complete 7 of the 10 Revelry Triumphs. So if you're gonna get in there and try to get the Arbalist, get to it, because it's gonna take a little bit of a grind to get there. But essentially, I think it looks fun. Is it enough to pull me back in at the moment? Probably not. I'm probably just going to wait until Penumbra comes up, like I've stated before, to jump back in. But it seems like it'll be pretty cool. And if you're still into Destiny at the moment, go check it out. It looks fun. So moving on. This will be a little short thing, but Anthem. They're actually releasing their 1.1.0 patch today. Just came out of nowhere. We're going to do a live stream, I believe, about the patch later on today, but we'll get our hands on it first. So I'm going to try to download that and actually get to it for you guys and check out what it has in tow for us. They did say that it will be released and it will include the new stronghold. I believe it's called the Sunken or something, along with various other game improvements and fixes, and they will also detail all of it in their patch notes, as well as give an update on their 90-day calendar. So we'll be getting not only the new stronghold, but we're getting a lot of improvements and fixes. I think they've been doing the best that they can to honestly try to fix this game. Obviously, it has a lot of problems, a whole lot of problems, and I think they're working the best they can to fix it, but it's just gonna take some time to get it to the point it needs to be, if it ever gets to the point that it really needs to be. really won't know until we just get there, I guess. The only reason I have a hope for it is because Destiny wasn't the best thing in the world when it came out, but I still loved it. But over time it got better and better, and I think that if they work really hard towards Anthem, it'll do the same thing. But adding new content in is definitely a step in the right direction. Now, if we just get that loot better, probably be in a lot better place. But moving on, let's talk about the Division 2. So we got quite a bit for the Division 2. Sadly, we have some bad news and some good news. The bad news is the March 15th raid that was supposed to come out. Wait, I thought the raid was supposed to come out this month. Well, anyways, I've got some bad news. The raid that was supposed to come out got delayed. It sucks. Really, because I know a lot of people were looking forward to it. A lot of my friends were talking about how they were ready for it. But it's getting delayed until sometime in May. They don't have a specific date for it. I'm pretty sure we'll hear about it soon, though. The good news is they're going to open up a public test server. Now, I'm not too sure when they're opening that up, if they're just going to open it up pretty soon or not. But they're going to be adding a lot of stuff into this test server, and I think it's pretty good. It's only going to be for PC, so console players were kind of left out. But I think it's good to try new things out, honestly, and get feedback before you add it into the actual game. Because your community is your best asset when you make a game like this, in my opinion. And the more you listen to your community, and if you make something like this to where the community could try out these things, I think it actually benefits you more in the long run, because you're not putting stuff out to everybody in the public and saying, oh God, I hope it works. You already know that it's going to work because you had people test it beforehand. And I think it's actually smart for them to go in and do this. I'm not going to go over everything in the post about what's going to be in the public test server. I'll go over some of it if you want to go check it out. There was a lot of stuff, but we'll just go over some of it. The normalizing mechanics. It says the equipment and weapons will be normalized to gear score 500, even if your gear score is higher. That also means that they are no longer normalizing for a middle ground, but they are respecting the rolls on your gear. That means when you had an item with a very high crit chance roll, it will be like that in normalized content. Skill power will also be respected, and when the mods are active in PvE, they will also be active in normalized content. So pretty much what they're doing is they're trying to make it to where your gear matters, but you're still like in fair playing ground. Because something I really like they did with the Division 2, contrary to the Division 1, is whenever you go into the dark zone, the other players in there in the Division 1, you still had levels. So if you're a level 1 and you came across a level 30 player, goodbye. It's not going to happen ever. But if you go into the Division 2 and you go into the dark zone and you come across another player, even if you're in the actual world level 1 and they're level 30, it doesn't matter, because you're still going to do, the same amount of damage to them as they would do to you. But it seems like what they're trying to do is make it to where the rolls on your weapons actually matter too. So if you have more crit chance, when you're shooting somebody, even though it has normalized stats per se, like DPS numbers, you're still going to have a little bit of advantage because you have those higher crit, you have that higher crit chance, which I think is fair. Because if you're going to make a more crit based build, then taking it into a PvP scenario, you would expect to have more chances of hitting crits than the player who has more of, like a skill power build or something, which I think it's fine. And I think it's good for them to do this and to test it out outside of the general public. So Dark Zone is going to get a few changes. I'll go over a few of them. The normal Dark Zone and the ODZ, which I'm not too sure what the ODZ stands for, will drop less clean loot and more contaminated loot. They want players to engage in the loot extraction loop. And named bosses guarantee contaminated loot, and higher level landmark bosses have the ability to drop multiple items. So, and also gear score 515 items will drop in the Dark Zone in the end game Dark Zone. So, kind of what they're trying to do is that is something that I did notice about it, contrary to the Division 1. In the Division 1, I think like pretty much every item you got in the Dark Zone was contaminated, if not every item. I don't remember particularly too well because it's been a long time since I played that. But in the Dark Zone in Division 2, they kind of drop a lot of just regular stuff that doesn't do much for you. The aspect of the Dark Zone that I always really liked is you go in there, you get this high end items, but you got to work for them. You have to go in there and you have to work for them, man. And you have to go in there and you kill these enemies. You get these contaminated items. You're like, man, I finally got this gun that I wanted. I finally got it. But dang, I had to get to this extraction point. I had to hold out here and hope nobody comes and takes it from me. And it's kind of a high risk, high reward scenario when you go into the Dark Zone. And I like that they want to push more contaminated loot and get people to those extraction points, because that's where you're trying to survive. You're trying to get your loot out of here. You never know, is this guy coming up? Is he going to be friendly? Is he going to shoot you in your face and take that fucking police M4 that you just got off of this boss that's contaminated? What is he going to do? It's that when you're going to the Dark Zone, it's supposed to be tense, and you're supposed to, you can't trust anybody. Maybe your friends, but can you trust your friends? You never know, when you're in the Dark Zone. And I think it's pretty cool that they're trying to push more of the extraction element of it. And also, by dropping more contaminated loot, I think it gives you a better chance of better weapons as well, in my opinion. So moving on, last thing we'll go over is the exotic gear. It says these are some general explanations about their philosophy around the exotics, the gear, and the talent design and balancing. Exotics should feel special. They don't have to do the most damage. They should also promote a fun and unique playstyle that does not have to be the most effective one. They're not always centered around raw DPS, but that being said, they still buff the damage of the exotics across the board. Pestilence will be buffed specifically, and it will also get even more effective in PvP. So I don't know what that weapon is because I have not played enough Division 2 yet. And in quotation, just buff everything. We are in the process of aligning the game, but there's only so high you can go, and that causes issues when you add new world tiers, for example. So at the moment, they are aligning the items, the activities, and the talents so that it's fun to play, and then they go from there. They know that nerfing items is not popular, but it also makes things more diverse. So, essentially, what they're trying to say is whenever they make an exotic gun, they want it to feel like its own gun. It doesn't have to be the most powerful. It doesn't have to be the best thing. It could be a gun that makes another gun powerful, you know? Or does something for another gun. It doesn't have to specifically be the best weapon in the game. And I agree with that. Just because you have an exotic, like in Destiny, you know, all the exotics aren't the best thing, but some of them are fun, like the tractor cannon. Like, you know, a lot of people didn't like that, but it's fun for some. Well, when it first came out, but you know, it's fun for some people to just go try to knock people off the fucking map. People like doing that, and you know, every exotic doesn't have to be the be all end all, as long as it has a purpose and it's fun to use. Now, I could understand if it wasn't performing right at all, you could say something about it, but you have to understand that just because it says exotic doesn't mean that it's going to be like the best in its class damage wise. It could have other meanings as well, other than being just the best at raw power. As far as the just buff everything, where they're saying like, where they're pretty much saying like they just want them to buff all the exotics. I don't think they should do that at all. It just it just doesn't work like that. It could potentially break the game, which I think they're doing a pretty good job, honestly, of keeping this game well-rounded, in my opinion. And I don't think that they should mess with the exotics, all of the exotics, and just shoot the numbers to the sky, essentially. They shouldn't do that at all. I think it's fine the way they're doing things, and I think they should keep doing things the way they are. All right. So moving on, let's talk about this Apex Legends patch notes that came out. So on April 16th, Apex Legends got 1.1.1 update, and it did a few things for it. They did some legend balancing. So starting with patch 1.1.1, Gibraltar and Caustic will get a new perk added to their passive, Fortified, which reduces damage taken by 10%. Over the week or two following this change, we will be watching how they perform with the additional protection and aggressively tune it. If they are still underpowered relative to their size, our goal is to ensure both legends are viable picks by the end of this process. So pretty much what they're doing is Caustic and Gibraltar, I guess, have not been used that much. Because if you know, in Apex Legends, every character has their own hitbox. And the hitboxes are, you know, obviously Caustic and Gibraltar are pretty big guys, so they're going to be easier to hit. So what they're trying to do with this is they're trying to make it to where they're more viable picks as characters. And they also gave them a few other things. So as stated before, Caustic gets the Fortified passive perk, and it reduces damage taken by 10%. His gas damage per tick is going to be increased from 1 to 4, and his ultimate throw distance increased from 28 meters to 38 meters. So you're getting some pretty, especially on that gas damage per tick, you're getting some pretty nice numbers on that. And it might make Caustic a little more viable to play. In Gibraltar, besides the Fortified passive perk, which also gives him reduces damage by 10%. His gun shield that he pops up whenever he's aiming down sights has increased health from 50 to 75. So that's a that's a decent amount, and it give you a little more shield to maybe take some people out with Gibraltar. And I think this is a good move because Caustic and Gibraltar have been very underused. I know my friend Todd plays as Gibraltar when we play. They really are underused characters, and you know, being bigger in size, it just makes more sense that they could take a little more damage, you know, and I think that's pretty smart. So, weapon balances. It says on the weapon side of the equation, we made a number of changes to try to improve the power of long-range gameplay. We're reducing leg shot damage reductions on sniper category weapons so you're not punished for landing inaccurate shots at long distances. Given the semi-auto and low damage nature of our current sniper suit, coupled with the general speed and evasiveness of many legend kits, it already takes several challenging shots to down someone at range. Because of this difficult sniper environment, we're also reducing general sniper weapon sway and hitting the DMR with a few targeted buffs to make it more viable to engage legends at range. Separately, for the sniper category, we are nerfing the Spitfire a bit, but our goal is to keep it strong, as it's a rare spawning weapon. The Wingman is receiving a few magazine size nerfs, so it doesn't dominate the stock guns versus stock gun battle early on due to its super high damage per bullet. Lastly, the Havoc is getting some general ammo and charge beam buffs to bring it in line as a viable energy ammo AR that competes with the R301 and Flatline / Hemlock. The end goal is that the Havoc pressures a player's ability to find energy ammo, but is less dependent on finding attachments. Whereas the R301 and Flatline / Hemlock have less ammo pressure but a higher reliance on finding more attachments to achieve power. So going on to the actual like buffs and nerfs, we have the G7 Scout / Triple Take / Longbow DMR. They're lowered the leg shot damage reduction from 25% to 10%. Reduce base weapon sway by about 33% and reduce base sway speed by about 25%. So it's going to be easier to hit people with these guns, and no matter where you hit them, you're going to be doing more damage, it seems like. So you shoot them in the leg, you'd have a 25% damage reduction because you're not hitting them like higher, but they're dropping it down to 10, so they want to make it so it's more viable to pick up these sniper weapons. The longbow DMR is getting further improvements, increased fire rate. There increases the magazine size as well, so it'll be a lot more viable of a gun. Going on to the Havoc, they increased the base magazine size from 25 to 32 rounds. And as far as the charge beam, reduced the cost per shot from 5 to 4, increased close range damage from 55 to 60, increased damage at range from 45 to 50. The close range damage fall off increased from 35 meters to 75 meters. And the range damage fall off increased from 75 meters to 125 meters. So if you pick up that one perk that's going to make your Havoc shoot, you know, the beam, you're going to be doing a lot more damage, which is good because a lot of people, including me, just really think that was just horrible on the Havoc. It just was garbage. And for them to fix it, it's pretty good. Just pretty much the Wingman is getting reduced magazine size and all of its mags. It's common, rare, epic, and base. The Spitfire is getting reduced base damage from 20 to 18. So the Spitfire isn't going to be as powerful, just going to take it down a little bit though. And the magazine extender attachment isn't going to be as good. You're gonna have a little less rounds when you put the mag extender on it. But there's a few other things. I would say just go, check that out if you want to. I just went over the basics of it. They're gonna have like a Battle Pass XP bonus event, which is pretty cool for people that own the Battle Pass. But I think it's a pretty good update for the game, and they've been updating it quite frequently, and I think they're doing a really good job. One thing that I really do like before we move on is how they don't want every gun to be balanced, and they've specifically stated this because people hate the Mozambique and say it's like horrible, and which it is, but it's supposed to be that way because you get it more frequently. They want guns to not be all equal. They want, say, like, that's why if you get a Peacekeeper over a Mozambique, the Peacekeeper is more powerful, but it's harder to find than a Mozambique. You're going to come across way more Mozambiques than Peacekeepers. And I like that, because it just makes, when you find that good gun, you're like, yes. If I see like a fucking not a Peacekeeper, but a Mozambique or an alternator at the beginning, I'm like, oh my fucking God. But if you see like a freaking Peacekeeper or R301 at the beginning, you're like, yes. And I just think it needs to stay that way. And if they keep it that way, then it's good to me. But closing out the podcast, we're going to talk about the PS4. We already have the PS4, Hugh. What are you talking about? The PS5 specs. And this is kind of the rundown of it. So the CPU, the PS5 CPU will be an AMD chip based on Ryzen 8X cores, 7nm Zen 2. Now, don't get me lying about a lot of this shit, because I'm not familiar with like AMD, or I believe like they have like Radeon products in there. I'm not familiar with anything of it. I'll just go by what I know. The GPU and ray tracing, the PS5 GPU will be a custom AMD Navi GPU that supports ray tracing. Here's Digital Foundry on the current state of ray tracing. Okay, we don't need to go into that. The audio, the PS5 will have 3D audio that Mark Cerny believes will be dramatically different to PS4 audio. The storage, the PS5 will have an SSD solid state drive, is what that stands for, which uses the new PCIe 4.0 connection. Cerny gave the example of a 0.8 second loading time compared to 15 seconds when tested on Marvel Spider-Man. Okay, so let's talk about that real quick. Something a friend of mine brought up. You're testing on a PS4 game that doesn't really give us clarity towards what PS5 games are going to be on it, but that still is pretty impressive. So the resolution support, the PS5 will have up to 8K support, presumably including full 4K, which is pretty cool. PS5 will support backwards compatibility with seemingly all PS4 games, at it's based in part on the PS4 architecture, as it's based in part on the PS4's architecture. PS5 won't be digital only. Physical media such as the current form of disc will still be supported. Some games will likely release on both PS4 and PS5 at first. Wired speculated on Death Stranding being one example based on Cerny's notably pregnant pause when asked. PS5 will have some form of cloud functionality. We are cloud gaming pioneers, Cerny told Wired. Our vision should become clearer as we head toward launch. and PS5 VR support has been confirmed with the current headset at least. So it looks like they're making some really big improvements to this system, which is good. And it seems like they're coming swinging out the gate, and you know, they're not taking their sweet time like they kind of did with the PS4 and then having to upgrade to the PS4 Pro. I think it's good that they're coming out the gate with a strong system. Now, the thing that kind of worries me is with all of these strong components within their new system, what will that price tag look like? I have seen that they said they're gonna try to keep it friendly, but will they be able to, with branching out this far into the specs in the new system, is what I'm saying. It really just, to me, I think it's great that they're doing this. Like I said, they're putting all this good stuff. I'm glad that they're still supporting VR, which I think is good for just VR in general, because I feel in order for it to grow, they really have to push it on consoles, because, you know, more people are gonna buy it on consoles, and if it's not doing good on consoles, then you know, a lot of people aren't going to spend the higher money for the PC versions. I think that like console VRs are going to pull people in first and like kind of get them to branch out towards maybe buying the higher end PC versions, in my opinion. But it looks like it has a good CPU. Like I said, I'm not big on the just the things they're putting in it, because I'm more of an NVIDIA guy. Like I have a 1060 in my computer, and I know more about that stuff than this. So I'm not. I wish Suicide was here in chat. He could probably put a lot more take on it than me. It's pretty cool that they're supporting 8K resolutions. That SSD that they're putting in it is just really good, because right now the PS4, like the loading times could just be freaking ridiculous sometimes, like really bad, especially on some games. And just to hear that they have a better SSD and it's going to be able to improve the loading time, I still say keep in mind that they are talking about a PS4 game when referring to this, but I still think it'll be a lot faster than PS4, even if the games do take longer than like the 0.8 seconds. It's also great that they're supporting backwards compatibility. So if you have PS4 discs, you just stick them into your PS5 and you're set. I know, like me, I buy all my games digitally, so when I get a PS5, if I want to play something on the PS5, I'm going to have to go hit GameStop up or something and go buy a disc for it. Unless they just put it on the store and you can just buy it on there. But I think it's very good that they're doing this. I think it was a feature that was really missed in the PS4 coming over from the PS3. And I think it's really good that they're doing this. They seem like the Xbox is doing it right with, you know, the Xbox One from the 360, and probably seeing that they want to kind of try to compete with that. So they're putting this in the PS5. But overall, I think it is a very good start to what the PS5 is looking like. Kind of how I feel about it and what's going to determine if I buy it is really two things: launch titles and pricing. If it's like a super high price console, I'm probably just gonna let it go for a little while, then keep my PS4 and play on it. But I mean, if they release it at like, I don't know, 400 or 500, I think it would be fine. At any higher is kind of pushing it to me. and then the launch titles, of course, are what's really going to sell it for me, because if it has nothing that I want at launch, it's like, why even buy this? Just because my friends buy it? Nah, that's not enough to me. They're really going to have to push some good launch titles and keep a decent price for me to pick this up at launch. But that's my thoughts on it. But I think it's going to be a good console. But anyways, guys, that's where we're probably going to wrap up the podcast today. Like I said in the beginning, if you want to come hang out with us, we do this every Tuesday at 7 a.m. Central Standard Time over at twitch.tv/ManVersusRage. That's ManVersusRage. I hope you guys have been enjoying the podcast. This is the third episode we're doing. I'm excited to keep doing these, dude. It's kind of hectic this week to find news to talk about, so I'm gonna try to get better at being more organized. But you guys gotta give me time. Like I said, I'm new to this, and I'm trying my best. But thank you guys for listening to the podcast. I love each and every one of you, and I hope all of you have an amazing day. And we'll see you guys next Tuesday. Peace.